I can't marry you, Jiwon said, his voice shaking. 5 words. No preamble, no apology in his voice, just flat declaration. Naomi's hands, which had been smoothing down the ivory fabric over her generous hips, went still. She was a size 22, proud of every curve, every inch of the body she'd learned to love after years of the world telling her not to. The dress had been custom designed because she refused to shrink herself for anyone's comfort, especially not for her wedding day. What did you just say? My mother, the family, they won't accept this. You're not. You don't fit what they need. I'm sorry, Naomi, but this ends now. Naomi felt something cold settle in her chest. She'd known Park Ji-won came from money, knew his family had interests that weren't entirely legal, but she'd ignored the warnings because she'd thought he was different, thought love could bridge the gap between her world and his. She'd been wrong. Your mother, Naomi repeated slowly. The woman who runs half the underground gambling operations in Seoul? That mother? The one who smiled at me while planning this exact moment? You don't understand the pressure I'm under. The family needs alliances, connections that strengthen our position. Your background, your size, you're too visible, Naomi. Too much of everything. In our world, that's dangerous. There it was. The truth beneath the excuses. She was too black, too fat, too American, too much for a crime family that valued discretion and tradition. Get out, she said quietly. Naomi, please, I do care about you, but I can't risk everything for this. I said get out before I make you regret every second you wasted my time. Her voice rose, the same voice that had negotiated contracts with dangerous men across 3 continents, the voice that had built her international logistics company despite everyone telling her a woman who looked like her couldn't succeed. Ji-won left quickly, his security detail closing around, him like a shield. Naomi stood alone, 200 guests downstairs, including some of Korea's most dangerous criminals, all waiting for a wedding that would never happen. She looked at herself in the mirror, at the dress, at the woman who'd flown from Chicago to Seoul, who'd learned Korean and Korean customs, who'd loved a coward. She should cry. She should collapse. Instead, she started laughing, a sound that held 0 humor. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. I know what my son just did. Meet me in the private lounge on the 7th floor. Come alone. Park Dae-shik. Park Dae-shik. The name that made government officials sweat, that controlled shipping routes from Busan to Shanghai, that commanded respect and fear in equal measure. The Joppongi, the boss of the Park crime family, one of the 3 most powerful Korean mafia organizations in Asia. Ji-won's father. Naomi stared at the message for 10 seconds, her mind calculating risks, possibilities, dangers. Meeting a mafia boss alone was objectively insane. She texted back, I'll be there in 15 minutes. She walked through the hotel corridors, her wedding dress trailing behind her, security cameras tracking her movement. When she reached the 7th floor, 2 men in expensive suits stopped her. Professional, armed, dangerous. Ms. Okafor, we need to check you for weapons. I'm in a wedding dress. Where exactly would I hide a weapon? The older guard almost smiled. With respect, ma'am, we've seen smaller women hide bigger guns. Please raise your arms. She submitted to the pat-down, professional and thorough, then was escorted into a private ola for where Park Dae-shik sat alone, whiskey in hand, surveying the city through floor-to-ceiling windows. He stood when she entered, a gesture of respect that surprised her. Park Dae-shik was 58, silver threading through his black hair, scars on his knuckles that told stories of a violent past, eyes that missed absolutely nothing. He wore power, like most men wore cologne, subtle but unmistakable. Ms. Okafor, thank you for coming. It's not like I had pressing plans. Naomi kept her voice steady, professional, hiding the fear beneath practiced calm. My son is a coward. I won't argue with that assessment. Dae-shik gestured to the chair across from him. Sit, please. Naomi calculated her options, then sat, the dress pooling around her. If he wanted her dead, she'd already be dead. This was something else. "I have a proposal for you," Dashik said, his voice low, controlled. "Marry me instead." Naomi laughed, genuine shock breaking through her composure. "You're joking." "I never joke about business, and this would be business." He poured a second glass of whiskey, slid it across the table to her. "Drink. You'll need it for what I'm about to explain." Naomi took the glass, the expensive liquor burning down her throat, fortifying her. "You built Okafor Logistics from nothing," Dashik began, his tone matter-of-fact. "You have shipping contracts across 3 continents. You move cargo that most companies won't touch. No questions asked, maximum discretion. You've never lost a shipment, never had a customs issue, never betrayed a client's confidence. You've been investigating me. Thoroughly. I know you're smart enough to know some of your clients operate outside legal boundaries. I know you charge premium rates for that discretion. I know you're careful, strategic, and absolutely ruthless when necessary." Naomi said nothing, confirming nothing, her face neutral. "Here's what I'm offering," Dashik continued. "A marriage contract. 1 year minimum. You play the role of my wife publicly, appear at family functions, attend important meetings, show everyone that I chose you when my son rejected you. In return, I guarantee shipping contracts worth $10 million annually, protection from any criminal organization that might see your business as competition, and connections to every major player in Asian organized crime. When the year ends, if you choose to leave, you walk away with everything I promised, plus a settlement of $5 million and my personal guarantee that no one will ever touch you or your business." Naomi's mind raced, calculating, analyzing. What do you actually get from this? Several things. Dashik's smile was cold. First, I remind my son and my ex-wife that I control this family, not them. Second, I acquire a legitimate business partner whose logistics operation perfectly complements my less than legitimate shipping needs. Third, I make a statement to every other crime family in Asia that Park Dashik doesn't follow traditional rules anymore. That I'm your statement, your middle finger to tradition. You're a brilliant businesswoman who happens to challenge every expectation of what a mafia wife should be. Yes, that makes you a statement, but also a genuinely valuable asset. And the risk to me? Walking into organized crime more. Directly? You're already in organized crime, Ms. Okafor. You just pretend otherwise. At least with me, you'd have protection. Right now, you're a target. A successful independent operator that various organizations might decide to eliminate or absorb. As my wife, you become untouchable. The logic was brutal and accurate. Naomi had been navigating increasingly dangerous waters, her logistics company too successful, too efficient, attracting attention she didn't want. I'd want guarantees, legal protection for my company, clear boundaries about what you can and cannot ask me to do, complete financial transparency about what I'm walking into. All acceptable. Dashik pulled out a contract, thick and detailed. Read it. Take an hour. My lawyer is available to answer questions. If you refuse, you walk out of here with my apology for wasting your time and my personal assurance that no harm will come to you. Naomi took the contract, her hands steady. She read every line, every clause, looking for traps. The terms were exactly as stated, almost too generous. "Why me specifically?" she asked after reading it twice. "You could make this statement with anyone." "Because you don't break under pressure," Dashik said simply. "I've had you watched for months, Ms. Okafor. Since Jiwon first brought you to family dinner, I've seen you handle threatening clients, navigate customs officials who tried to shake you down, manage logistics nightmares without losing your composure. You're steel wrapped in silk, and that's exactly what I need beside me." "What about intimacy? Physical expectations?" "None unless mutually agreed. Separate bedrooms, separate lives outside public appearances. This is business first. Anything else is negotiable between us as adults. Naomi looked at this dangerous man offering her dangerous opportunities wrapped in protection. Thought about walking out of this hotel as a rejected bride, about the vulnerability of her current position, about the strategic value of this insane proposal. I want my own legal team to review this. I want quarterly assessments where we can renegotiate or terminate early with the same financial terms. And I want it explicitly stated that I'm not required to participate in any illegal activities directly. My company remains mine, and you don't make decisions about my business without consultation. Your lawyer is downstairs. I'll have them brought up immediately. Daeshik made a phone call in rapid Korean, then looked at her with something that might have been respect. You negotiate well. I've had practice with dangerous men. I imagine you have. 40 minutes later, Naomi's lawyer Patricia had reviewed the contract with 3 modifications that Daeshik accepted without argument, and Naomi signed the most dangerous document of her life. This is either brilliant or suicidal, Patricia whispered. Maybe both, Naomi replied. Then let's make sure you survive it looking incredible. 1 hour after Jiwon had walked out, Naomi walked down the aisle on Park Daeshik's arm, her wedding dress a bold statement, her head high, her full curves displayed proudly despite the shocked gasps from the assembled guests. The crowd included gang leaders, corrupt politicians, business executives, all of them staring at the unexpected bride. Jiwon stood frozen near the front, his mother Kim Hyejin beside him, her face a mask of rage barely contained. Various Park family members showed expressions ranging from shock to calculation, already assessing how this changed the power dynamics. When they reached the altar, Daeshik turned to face Naomi, his voice low enough only she could hear. Last chance to run. I don't run. I negotiate better terms. His smile was genuine for a moment. Then let's give them a show. The officiant, clearly briefed on the change and too terrified to question it, began the ceremony with shaking hands. When vows came, Daeshik spoke clearly, his voice carrying authority. Naomi Okafor, you are extraordinary in a world that punishes extraordinary women. You built an empire with nothing but intelligence and will. I promise to respect your strength, protect your interests, and never ask you to be smaller than you are for anyone's comfort, including mine. The words were a declaration to the room as much as to her, a statement of intent that rippled through the crowd. Naomi's turn. She looked directly at Daeshik, ignoring the hundreds of dangerous eyes watching. Park Daeshik, you offered partnership where your son offered betrayal. You saw value where others saw obstacles. I promise to bring my full capabilities to this arrangement, to be honest about my boundaries, and to never pretend to be anything less than exactly who I am. Let everyone here understand that. The emphasis on arrangement was deliberate, a message that this was business, strategy, power moves, rather than romance. They exchanged rings, platinum bands, that Daeshik had somehow procured within an hour, probably through methods she didn't want to know about. When the officiant invited the kiss, Daeshik leaned in, pressing a brief, respectful kiss to her cheek, appropriate for a business arrangement, nothing more. The room erupted, whispers becoming open speculation, shock becoming calculation, as various players tried to figure out what this meant for existing alliances and power structures. Naomi turned to face the crowd, Daeshik's hand at her back, both protective and possessive, and smiled brilliantly. Let them all see. She wasn't hiding, wasn't shrinking, wasn't apologizing. If you're watching this story and want to know how Naomi survives the Mafia world she just entered, drop a like and subscribe. This is only the beginning, and the danger is just starting. Comment below what you think happens when the other crime families find out about this marriage. The reception was surreal and dangerous. Criminal organizations forced to celebrate a wedding that shifted power balances they'd carefully maintained for decades. Naomi moved through the crowd on Daishik's arm, playing the role of Mafia wife while hyper-aware of every threat, every calculation happening behind polite smiles. She noticed everything. The way certain gang leaders refused to approach them, a sign of disrespect that Daishik noted with cold eyes. The way others came forward with elaborate congratulations, already repositioning themselves for whatever came next. The way Jiwon stood alone in a corner, drinking heavily, his security detail watching him with contempt, barely disguised. "The Jade Dragons are making a statement by not greeting us," Naomi murmured to Daishik as they danced, a waltz he led with surprising grace. "You caught that? Good. They'll need to be dealt with soon." Dealt with how? That depends on whether they're simply posturing or actually planning to challenge this marriage as a sign of weakness. Daishik spun her gently, his strength making her feel graceful despite her size. "What do you think? You're trained in reading people." The fact that he was asking her opinion, genuinely asking, surprised Naomi. Posturing. They're testing to see if you'll react. They expect you to come to them. Don't. Make them come to you or lose face with the other organizations. Daishik's smile was approving. "Excellent read. You're going to be very valuable, Ms. Okafor." "Mrs. Park now, technically." "Technically." Something shifted in his expression. "How are you holding up? You mean besides having married a mafia boss to avoid humiliation and now navigating a room full of criminals who probably want me dead?" "Yes, besides that. I'm calculating survival strategies and wondering if I've made a brilliant move or signed my death warrant." "Likely both. Welcome to my world." As the dance ended, Kim Hye-jin approached, two bodyguards flanking her, her face a mask of barely controlled fury. "Daishik, this is unacceptable. You've made us look weak, desperate, unstable." "I've made a strategic move that strengthens our position," Daishik replied calmly. "Perhaps if you'd raised our son to be stronger, this wouldn't have been necessary." "This woman," Hyejin's eyes flicked to Naomi with pure venom, "is a liability. Too visible, too foreign, too fat to represent this family properly. Every other organization is laughing at us." Naomi had armor against these attacks, had heard variations her entire life. But hearing it from a woman who ran underground gambling operations, who'd ordered people killed, who wielded power ruthlessly, stung differently. Before she could respond, Daishik stepped forward, his voice dropping to a lethal whisper that somehow carried more threat than shouting. "Naomi is my wife, and now a ranking member of this family. She will be treated with absolute respect. If you cannot manage that, I will remove you from all family operations and cut off the income you've enjoyed since our divorce. Additionally, those gambling debts your boyfriend accumulated in Macau, the ones you think I don't know about, I'll call them in immediately. Do we understand each other, Hyejin?" Hyejin's face went white. "You wouldn't dare. Test me. See what happens." The threat was clear, backed by power and information that terrified her. Hyejin turned and walked away, her bodyguards closing around her protectively. Naomi let out a breath. She'll retaliate. Probably. But she'll be careful about it now. She knows I have leverage. Daishik guided Naomi toward a quieter area. "Are you all right?" "I've survived worse insults from more powerful people." "That doesn't make it acceptable." "Welcome to life as a fat black woman, Daishik. I learned to handle it young." "You shouldn't have to handle it in your own family." "This isn't really my family. This is a business arrangement with family structure." "For now," he said quietly, "but arrangements can evolve." Before Naomi could process that statement, Jiwon appeared, drunk and furious, his security detail trying to hold him back. "This is insane, Dad. You can't actually want to be married to her. Look at her. She's too much. Too big, too black, too everything. I was doing everyone a favor ending it." The words hit like bullets, each one designed to wound. Naomi felt her armor crack slightly, old insecurities rising despite years of work to silence them. Then Daishik moved, fast for his age, grabbing Jiwon by the throat and slamming him against the nearest wall before his security could react. The room went silent, everyone watching the boss discipline his son publicly. "Listen very carefully," Daishik said, his voice deadly calm. "Naomi is worth 10 of you. She built an empire with intelligence and strategy. You inherited one and almost destroyed it with weakness. She is beautiful, brilliant, and strong, exactly as she is. You gave her up because you're a coward controlled by your mother's prejudices. That's your failure, not hers." He released Jiwon, who slumped against the wall, gasping. "Now remove yourself from this reception before I remove you permanently from this family." Jiwon fled, his security detail surrounding him, shame written across his face. The crowd slowly resumed conversation, the message clear. Park Daishik had claimed Naomi publicly, violently, absolutely. Naomi stood frozen, processing what had just happened, the defense she hadn't expected, the protection that came with genuine fury. "I didn't need you to do that," she said quietly when Daishik returned to her side. "I know, but I wanted to. No one insults you in my presence without consequences." He took her hand, his grip warm despite the violence he'd just displayed. "Are you ready to leave? We've made our statement." "Yes, please." They left the reception, bodyguards surrounding them as they moved through the hotel into a bulletproof car that drove them through Seoul's glittering streets to a penthouse that Naomi had never seen before. Her new home, her new life, her new dangerous reality. The penthouse occupied the entire top floor of a building Daishik owned, luxury and security combined with sophisticated surveillance and reinforced walls. Floor-to-ceiling bulletproof windows showcased Seoul's skyline, minimalist furniture that somehow felt warm, art that was both beautiful and expensive. "The East Wing is yours," Daishik said, his voice gentler now that they were alone. 3 bedrooms, private bathroom, sitting area. Your belongings from the hotel have been moved there. Additional security measures are in place, panic buttons in every room, direct line to my security team. You're very thorough. In my world, thorough is survival. He loosened his tie, the first sign of exhaustion she'd seen. "There's food if you're hungry, or I can have something prepared." "I'm fine." Naomi moved to the windows, drawn by the view, by the proof that this was real, that she'd actually done this. "This is insane. Completely." Daishik joined her, maintaining respectful distance. "You handled today remarkably well. I had practice handling impossible situations. This goes beyond impossible. You walked into organized crime knowing the dangers. That takes courage. Or stupidity. No, you're too smart for stupidity. This was calculated risk, and you're already adapting." They stood in silence, 2 strangers now legally bound, both processing the magnitude of what they'd done. "I have one question," Naomi said. "Did you plan this? Any of it?" "I knew Jiwon might collapse under his mother's pressure. I've seen him fold before. I prepared the contract as contingency, but I didn't know if I'd offer it or if you'd accept. Some things you can't plan, only prepare for." "And if I'd refused?" "Then I would have ensured your safe departure and never mentioned it again." He turned to face her directly. "I meant what I said in my vows, Naomi. I respect your intelligence and strength. This only works if you're here by choice." The sincerity surprised her, cut through her cynicism about his motives. "I should sleep," she said, suddenly exhausted. "Today has been too much." "Of course. If you need anything, I'm in the West Wing. Security monitors everything, so you're safe here." As Naomi retreated to her section of the penthouse, she found her belongings carefully arranged in a bedroom 3 times the size of her Chicago apartment. She changed out of the wedding dress, hanging it carefully though she wasn't sure why, and into comfortable clothes that didn't constrict her soft belly or thick thighs. She looked at herself in the full-length mirror, at this body the world constantly rejected, at this woman who'd just married a Mafia boss to survive rejection and gain protection. Her phone exploded with messages. Friends, family, people who'd been at the wedding and people who'd heard about it. Patricia had texted, "Call me when you can breathe. Also, you're either a genius or insane. Stay safe." Another message appeared. Unknown number. "You think marrying him makes you powerful? You're just a pawn he'll discard when convenient. Watch your back. A friend." The threat was clear, likely from Hyejin or someone allied with her. Naomi screenshot it, sent it to Daeshik's number that was now in her phone, then blocked the sender. If they thought she'd scare easily, they'd severely underestimated her. She fell asleep in 1,000-thread count sheets, in a bedroom worth more than she'd made in 5 years, legally married to one of Asia's most dangerous men, and somehow felt safer than she had in months. Tomorrow she'd start navigating this new reality. Tonight, she'd survived. The next morning, Naomi woke to the smell of coffee and found Daeshik in the kitchen, wearing casual clothes but still radiating authority, reading news on a tablet in Korean. "Good morning," he said, gesturing to prepared coffee. "Black, no sugar. I had my people research your preferences." "Of course you did." Naomi accepted the cup, the strong, bitter taste fortifying. "Do you research everything?" "Everything that matters. In my world, information is survival." He set down the tablet. "We need to discuss logistics and security protocols." "Already?" "Especially now. You're married to me, which makes you a target for every organization that wants leverage or revenge. You need to understand the threats." He pulled up a presentation on his tablet showing photographs of various men and women, all dangerous, all potentially hostile. "These are the major players you need to recognize. The Jade Dragons, led by Chen Wei, they run drug operations and human trafficking. They see our marriage as a sign of weakness, possible opportunity to challenge our territory. The Red Phoenix Syndicate, led by Yamamoto Kenji, they control weapons trafficking and have been neutral allies. But that could change. The Soul Brotherhood, led by Kim Taemin, they run protection rackets and underground banking, currently friendly but watching carefully." Naomi studied each face, memorizing features, assessing threats. "What do they know about me?" "Everything I know. That you run a legitimate logistics company with contracts that sometimes serve criminal organizations. That you're American, which makes you both exotic and potentially connected to American crime families. That you're brilliant with logistics and strategy. And that I'm fat and black and don't fit their expectations of a mafia wife. Yes, some will see that as weakness. They're wrong, but they'll try to exploit it." Daeshik pulled up more files. "These are specific individuals who've made threats or shown particular interest in you. Some are curious, some are hostile, all are dangerous." He spent an hour briefing her on security protocols, emergency procedures, who to trust and who to avoid. It was overwhelming and essential, a crash course in surviving organized crime. "You're treating this like business training," Naomi observed. "Because it is. You're now a ranking member of a criminal organization whether you wanted that or not. The marriage made it official." Daeshik's voice was serious. "I can protect you, but you also need to protect yourself. That means understanding the landscape." "What about my company? Okafor Logistics?" "Remains yours completely. However, I'd like to propose a partnership where we coordinate certain shipments that benefit both our operations. You maintain full control, full profits, but we share resources and intelligence that make both businesses more efficient." "And if I refuse the partnership?" "Then your company remains entirely independent, and I honor that boundary. But I'd recommend accepting. The intelligence alone is worth the coordination, and it strengthens your position if people see us working together." Naomi processed this, her business mind, calculating advantages. "I want detailed proposals on what coordination would look like, what resources you're offering, and what percentage of shared profits goes where." "I'll have my team prepare comprehensive documentation." Daeshik smiled slightly. "You negotiate even in marriage." "Especially in marriage. That's when people tend to take advantage." They spent the rest of the morning discussing business, and Naomi was surprised by how much she enjoyed the strategic conversation, the way Daishik valued her input, asked genuine questions, treated her expertise with respect. With Jiwon, she'd always felt like her business success threatened his ego. Daishik seemed energized by it, genuinely interested in her methodologies and innovations. "You've built something remarkable," he said after she explained her logistics routing algorithms. "Most people in my world rely on brute force and intimidation. You use intelligence and efficiency. That's rare." "In your world or generally?" "Both." Her phone rang. Unknown number, but Daishik's security system identified it before she answered. "That's Chen Wei, Jade Dragon's leader. You should take it. Speakerphone." Naomi answered, her voice steady. "This is Naomi Okafor." "Mrs. Park now, yes?" The voice was male, accented, amused. "Congratulations on your unexpected wedding." "Thank you. To what do I owe this call?" "Professional courtesy. I wanted to introduce myself personally. I'm Chen Wei, and I believe we should meet soon to discuss how your new position affects existing business relationships." It was a threat wrapped in politeness, a demand for tribute or allegiance disguised as friendly introduction. Naomi glanced at Daishik, who nodded permission for her to handle it. "I appreciate the courtesy, Mr. Chen. However, my business relationships remain independent of my personal ones. If you have specific concerns about existing contracts, we can address those through normal business channels." "Normal business channels?" Chen Wei laughed. "You're married to Park Daishik. Nothing is normal anymore, Mrs. Park. I'll be in touch about that meeting, sooner rather than later." He hung up. Naomi set down her phone carefully. That was a threat. "Yes. He's testing you, seeing if you'll panic or defer to me. You handled it well, firm without being aggressive." "Will he actually try something?" "Possibly. The Jade Dragons have been looking for an excuse to challenge our territory. Our marriage might provide that excuse, or it might make them reconsider if they think you make us stronger." "And do I? Make you stronger?" Daishik considered the question seriously. "Yes. But not in the way they think. They're focused on traditional power, territory, muscle. You bring strategic thinking, international connections, legitimacy that helps us expand into new areas. That's more valuable than another soldier." The assessment was clinical, but genuine. Naomi appreciated the honesty. That evening, Daishik had a meeting with his top lieutenants, and he invited Naomi to attend. "You should meet the people who actually run daily operations, and they should understand that you're not just decoration." The meeting took place in a secure room in the penthouse, 5 men and 1 woman, all dangerous, all eyeing Naomi with varying degrees of skepticism. Daishik made introductions. "This is my wife, Naomi Park. She's also my new strategic advisor and will be consulting on logistics and international operations. Anything you'd tell me, you can tell her. She has full access and full authority." The pronouncement surprised everyone, including Naomi. The woman, Lee Soyeon, who apparently ran the organization's financial operations, spoke first. "With respect, boss, she's been in the family for 1 day. How do we know she's trustworthy?" "Because I trust her," Daishik said simply. "But she'll prove herself soon enough. Naomi, tell them about your current logistics operation and how it might benefit our distribution channels." Naomi stood, refusing to be intimidated by the hostile room, and launched into a presentation she'd prepared mentally during the day. She explained her routing systems, her customs connections, her methods for moving cargo discreetly across international borders. By the end, even the most skeptical looked impressed. "You really move containers through 6 countries without inspection?" one lieutenant asked, genuine curiosity in his voice. "Yes. I've built relationships with customs officials, developed paperwork systems that pass scrutiny, and established timing patterns that avoid random checks. It's about understanding the system well enough to work within it invisibly." "That's brilliant," Lee Soyeon said, her skepticism shifting to interest. We've been struggling with a shipment route from Thailand to Japan. Could your methods work there? Possibly. I'd need to review the specific challenges and customs requirements. They spent an hour discussing logistics, and by the end, Naomi had gone from outsider to valuable consultant in their eyes. Not fully trusted yet, but respected for capability. After the meeting, Daeshik walked her back to the main living area. You won them over quickly. Competence is hard to argue with, Naomi replied, but they're still watching me, waiting for me to fail or betray you. Of course. That's smart on their part. But you're already proving your value, which is what matters. That night, as Naomi prepared for bed, she reflected on the surreal nature of her new life. 24 hours ago, she'd been preparing to marry Jiwon. Now she was strategic advisor to a Mafia organization, navigating death threats and criminal politics while trying to protect her legitimate business. It was insane. It was also exhilarating. Her phone buzzed. Text from Daeshik. Thank you for today, for handling Chen Wei well, for impressing my lieutenants, for adapting to impossible circumstances with grace. Sleep well, Naomi, she typed back. Thank you for the defense at the reception, for giving me actual authority instead of just a title. This might actually work. It will work. We'll make sure of it. Good night. Simple exchange, but it warmed something in her chest, made her feel less alone in this dangerous new world. She fell asleep thinking about logistics routes and criminal politics and a mafia boss who defended her honor violently but treated her professionally with respect. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Tonight she'd survived another day. 1 week into the marriage, the threats escalated. Naomi was reviewing shipping manifests in her home office when Daeshik's head of security burst in. Mrs. Park, we have a situation. Someone left a package at the building entrance addressed to you. The package sat on Daeshik's desk 20 minutes later. Bomb squad having cleared it, contents now revealed. A severed finger, a woman's by the size, wearing a ring identical to Naomi's wedding band. The message was clear and horrifying. Daeshik's face was carved from ice as he examined the package, fury radiating from him in waves. Jade Dragons, he said quietly. Chen Wei's signature move. He's declaring war using you as the opening salvo. Naomi stared at the severed finger, fighting nausea, refusing to show weakness. Whose finger? Unknown. Likely someone they grabbed off the street just for the message. They kill casually to make points. Daeshik made several phone calls in rapid Korean, his voice sharp with command. When he finished, he turned to Naomi, his expression serious. This changes things. You're now an active target, not just passive leverage. I'm increasing your security detail to 6 bodyguards minimum. You don't go anywhere alone. You don't make any moves without clearing them with security first. That's imprisonment. That's survival. Chen Wei just declared he's willing to hurt you to get to me. I won't give him that opportunity. Naomi wanted to argue, to insist on independence, but the severed finger on the desk was persuasive argument for caution. How do we respond? Carefully. If we hit back too hard, we start a full gang war that'll kill dozens and draw government attention we don't want. If we don't respond at all, we look weak and invite more attacks. Daeshik paced, thinking strategically. What would you do? You're trained in strategic thinking. The fact that he was asking genuinely, treating her as consultant rather than victim, helped Naomi focus past her fear. Hit his money, not his people. Find out where he's vulnerable financially and strike there. It sends a message that we're smart and strategic rather than just violent. Makes him look crude in comparison. Daeshik stopped pacing, considering. His main income is drug distribution and human trafficking. Both are vulnerable to disruption if we hit the right points. Then hit them, make it clear. This was response to his threat without being so obvious. It's declared war. Let him know we can hurt him without bodies in the street. Brilliant. Daeshik smiled, dangerous and cold. Lee Soyeon will coordinate financial attacks. You should work with her. You understand logistics well enough to identify choke points. Over the next 3 days, Naomi worked with Lee Soyeon to map out Jade Dragon's operations, finding weak points in supply chains, payment systems, distribution networks. They struck simultaneously at 6 different operations, disrupting cash flow without spilling blood. The message was received. Chen Wei's organization lost an estimated $3 million in 72 hours. His response came as a phone call to Naomi directly, bypassing Daishik. "You're smarter than I expected, Mrs. Park." "Thank you, and you're exactly as crude as I expected, Mr. Chen." He laughed, genuine appreciation in the sound. "Daishik chose well. Perhaps we should meet face to face, establish boundaries like civilized criminals rather than continuing this escalation." "I'm amenable to that if my husband agrees." "He'll agree. I'll send details." When Naomi told Daishik about the call, he was both impressed and concerned. "He's going around me directly to you, testing whether you'll make decisions independently or defer to me." "What should I have said?" "Exactly what you did. You acknowledged the need for my input without being subservient. That's perfect." Daishik pulled her close unexpectedly, his arms wrapping around her, the first real physical affection since their wedding. "You scared me when he sent that package. The thought of you being hurt, it affected me more than expected." Naomi stiffened initially, not used to this level of closeness, then slowly relaxed into the embrace. Daishik was solid, warm, surprisingly gentle for someone so dangerous. "I'm fine. Shaken, but fine." "I know. You're remarkably strong." He pulled back slightly to look at her face. "This arrangement, it's becoming more than business for me. I need you to know that." "Daishik, I'm not asking for anything. Just being honest as we agreed. You're brilliant, brave, beautiful, exactly as you are. Working with you, watching you adapt to this world, it's changing how I see this marriage." Naomi's heart raced. This was dangerous territory, feelings developing in an arrangement built on strategy. "We should focus on surviving the next few weeks before we complicate things further." "Agreed. But I wanted you to know." He released her, professional distance restored. "The meeting with Chen Wei is dangerous. He could use it as opportunity to hurt you. I'll have security everywhere, but there's still risk." "I can handle risk. I've been doing it my whole life." The meeting took place 3 days later at a neutral restaurant, high-end establishment where violence would draw unwanted attention. Naomi arrived with Daishik and 6 bodyguards, wearing a tailored dress that celebrated her curves while projecting authority. Chen Wei sat with his own security detail, a man in his 40s, handsome in a dangerous way, eyes that calculated constantly. "Mrs. Park," he greeted her, standing with surprising courtesy. "You're more impressive in person." "Mr. Chen, thank you for agreeing to meet." They sat, Daishik beside Naomi, tension crackling through the room like electricity. "Let's discuss boundaries," Chen Wei began. "Your marriage changes nothing about existing territories. Agreed?" "Agreed," Daishik replied. "But any further threats against my wife will be met with escalation that makes the last 3 days look gentle." "Fair. And I assume any expansion into my territories will be similarly met?" "Of course." They negotiated for an hour, establishing boundaries, agreeing to avoid direct conflict, creating uneasy peace built on mutual threat recognition. Throughout it all, Chen Wei kept glancing at Naomi, assessing, calculating. "You're not what I expected for Park's wife," he said finally. "Most men in his position choose decoration. You're functional art, beautiful, but dangerous." "Thank you, I think. It's a compliment. I respect capability." He leaned back. "Your logistics operation interests me, Mrs. Park. Perhaps we could discuss collaboration separate from organizational politics." Daishik tensed beside her, but Naomi answered smoothly. "My business operates independently. If you have legitimate shipping needs, we can discuss through normal business channels, but I don't mix personal and professional relationships more than necessary." Wise. I'll be in touch through proper channels then. The meeting ended with handshakes and promises of peace, both sides knowing it was temporary truce rather than genuine resolution. In the car afterwards, Daeshik was quiet, processing. "He'll try to use you to get to me or use me to get to you," he finally said. "That's his nature." "I expected that. I can handle Chen Wei if he contacts me legitimately." "I know you can. That's not what concerns me." "Then what?" "I'm concerned about how much I care about your safety beyond strategic value. That creates vulnerability in this world." Naomi understood immediately. Caring about people in organized crime made them targets, gave enemies leverage. So what do? We're very careful about showing how much we care publicly, and we're absolutely ruthless about protecting each other privately. The next weeks brought challenges and changes. Naomi's security detail became permanent, 6 bodyguards who rotated shifts, following her everywhere. Initially it felt intrusive, but she grew to appreciate their competence, their ability to fade into background while maintaining constant vigilance. Her business benefited from her marriage, new contracts appearing from organizations wanting favor with Park Daeshik, others wanting relationships with Naomi specifically for her logistics expertise. She navigated it all carefully, maintaining independence while acknowledging her new position, building her empire while supporting Daeshik's. They fell into rhythm together, morning coffee discussions about business and strategy, evenings sometimes shared, sometimes separate, depending on obligations. The physical boundaries they'd established remained mostly intact, but affection grew, small touches, casual embraces, the comfort of partnership. 1 month into the marriage, Daeshik invited her to a family dinner, the first since the wedding, an opportunity to establish Naomi's permanent position in the Park family hierarchy. The dinner took place at Hyejin's house, intentionally her territory, a power play that Daeshik allowed to make a point. Naomi dressed carefully, a fitted dress in deep red that showcased her curves proudly, jewelry that was elegant but not excessive, her natural hair styled in twists that she refused to straighten despite knowing. Korean beauty standards preferred straight hair. She looked powerful, beautiful, unapologetically herself. When they arrived, security swept the house first, checking for threats, weapons, anything dangerous. Only after clearance did Naomi and Daeshik enter. Hyejin waited in the formal dining room, her face a mask of false politeness. Jiwon sat beside her, visibly uncomfortable. Various Park family members filled the other seats, some curious, some hostile, all watching. Daeshik's sister Mirai was there, offering Naomi a genuine smile, an ally in hostile territory. "Welcome, Naomi," Mirai said warmly. "That dress is stunning." "Thank you. It's good to see a friendly face." They sat, Naomi beside Daeshik at the head of the table, claiming position as his wife and partner. Hyejin started with poison wrapped in politeness. "Naomi, how interesting that you've adapted to Korean culture so quickly. Though I notice you still wear your hair in that American style rather than something more traditional." The insult was clear. Too black, too American, not Korean enough. Naomi smiled, calm and confident. "I wear my hair as it grows naturally. I'm not interested in pretending to be something I'm not for anyone's comfort." How bold. "I've found boldness serves me well in business and in life." The dinner continued with similar verbal sparring, Hyejin making subtle attacks, Naomi deflecting with grace and occasional sharp responses that made some family members hide smiles. Halfway through, Jiwon spoke, his voice bitter with alcohol. "This is all wrong. Dad married her to humiliate me, to punish me for choosing family over foolish romance." "I married her," Daeshik said coldly, "because she's brilliant, capable, and strong enough to be my partner. Something you never were, Jiwon. She's fat and black and wrong for this family." The alcohol made Jiwon cruel, reckless. Before Daeshik could respond, Naomi spoke, her voice cutting. "I'm fat, Yes, I'm black, obviously. I'm American, undeniably. I'm also brilliant at logistics, strategic about business, and currently more valuable to this family's operations than you've ever been. If those facts make you uncomfortable, that's your insecurity, not my problem. The table went silent, everyone shocked by her directness. Mireille started clapping, slow and deliberate. Well said, sister-in-law. Well said. Others joined hesitantly, a few genuinely approving, most just acknowledging her courage. Hyejin's face was ice. You're very confident for someone married into this world rather than born to it. I'm confident because I've earned everything I have. I didn't inherit power. I built it from nothing, which is more than some people here can claim. Direct shot at Hyejin and Jiwon both, a risk but calculated. Daishik's hand found Naomi's under the table, squeezing gently, pride and warning mixed. The dinner ended shortly after, tension too thick to sustain polite conversation. In the car driving home, Daishik pulled Naomi close. That was risky. I know, but necessary. They needed to see I won't be dismissed or diminished. You certainly accomplished that. Mireille texted me already. She loves you. And Hyejin hates me more than before. Yes, we'll need to watch for retaliation. The retaliation came 2 days later, indirect but vicious. Someone leaked information about Naomi's logistics company to customs authorities in 3 countries, triggering investigations that could destroy her business if not handled carefully. The source was clearly Hyejin, using her connections to hurt Naomi without direct confrontation. Naomi worked 18-hour days with her legal team, providing documentation, proving legitimacy, navigating bureaucratic nightmares while managing existing contracts. Daishik provided support, connecting her with officials who could expedite reviews, offering legal resources, being present when she needed someone to process with. This is what I was afraid of, Naomi said one exhausted evening, collapsed on the penthouse couch after another grueling day. My marriage to you making my business vulnerable. Your marriage to me also gives you resources to fight back. You're not alone in this, Naomi. I've always been alone in business fights before. Well, you're not anymore. Daishik sat beside her, pulling her against his chest, his arms secure and warm. We'll protect your company. I've already made calls. The investigations will conclude with no findings within 2 weeks. How can you promise that? Because I own the people conducting them. Welcome to the advantages of marrying into organized crime. Naomi should be uncomfortable with corruption, with illegal influence, but mostly she was just grateful for help. Thank you. You don't thank me for protecting what's mine. Yours? Yes, you're my wife. Your business is under my protection. That makes it mine to defend. He tilted her face up to look at him. Is that a problem? It should be. I've always been independent. You still are. I'm just providing backup. Naomi studied his face, this dangerous man who'd offered her partnership and was delivering on promises, who defended her fiercely but respected her autonomy, who made her feel protected without making her feel weak. I'm starting to have feelings for you, she admitted quietly. Real ones, beyond gratitude or strategic partnership. Good, because I'm already there. Daishik leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull back. Can I kiss you? Really kiss you this time, not the public performance version? Naomi's heart raced. This was crossing a line, moving from arrangement into genuine relationship. But she'd been wanting this for weeks, denying the attraction building between them. Yes. He kissed her then, deep and thorough and claiming, his hands cupping her face, his body pressing close. Naomi melted into it, kissing back with weeks of denied want, tasting whiskey and mint and possibility. When they finally broke apart, Daishik rested his forehead against hers. This complicates everything. I know. Do you want to stop? Go back to professional partnership? No, do you? Absolutely not. He kissed her again, softer this time. but we should discuss what this means, how we navigate actual relationship within the arrangement." "Very romantic," Naomi teased, but appreciated his caution. "I'm not good at romance. I'm good at clear terms and honest communication. So let me be clear. I want you, Naomi. Not just as business partner or strategic asset, but as person I'm falling for despite every logical reason not to. The age gap, the circumstances, the danger, all of it. None of it matters compared to how I feel when I'm with you." Naomi processed this, her heart and mind warring between caution and want. "I want this too, but slowly, with continued honesty about what we're feeling and needing." Agreed. They spent that night together, in his bed this time, no longer maintaining separate spaces. They made love slowly, carefully, Daeshik worshipping her curves with hands and mouth, making her feel desired exactly as she was. No apologies, no requests to be smaller or different. And Naomi let herself feel it, the pleasure and the emotion, the risk and the reward, the reality that this arrangement had become something genuine. Afterwards, tangled together in expensive sheets, Naomi's head on his chest, Daeshik spoke quietly. "I'm going to make Hyejin pay for going after your business." "How?" "I'm removing her from all family operations. She's been a liability for years. This gave me the excuse I needed." "That'll cause family upheaval. Let it. Anyone who can't accept you fully doesn't deserve position in this organization." His arms tightened around her. "You're my priority now, Naomi. The family will adapt or be removed." The fierceness in his voice, the absolute conviction, made Naomi's chest warm with emotion she wasn't ready to name yet. "I love you," she said instead, testing the words, tasting their truth. Daeshik went very still, then rolled to face her fully, his expression intense. "Say that again. I love you. It's terrifying and irrational and way too soon, but it's true. I love you, Daeshik." "I love you too." He kissed her deeply, pouring feeling into it. "I've loved you since you negotiated that first contract instead of crying. I just didn't have a name for it yet." They fell asleep like that, wrapped together, vulnerable and protected simultaneously, the dangerous Mafia boss and the brilliant logistics executive who'd found something neither expected in an arrangement built on rejection. The next months brought escalation and evolution. Daeshik removed Hyejin from family operations as promised, causing faction within the organization but ultimately strengthening his control. Those who couldn't accept Naomi left or were removed. Those who adapted found themselves in stronger position with new opportunities. Naomi's business investigations concluded with no findings, exactly as Daeshik had promised, her company emerging stronger with new high-value contracts from organizations impressed by her ability to navigate crisis. Chen Wei continued testing boundaries, but gradually shifted toward grudging respect, eventually offering Naomi legitimate business contracts that she accepted carefully, building bridge between organizations that reduced conflict. The Jade Dragons incident became cautionary tale, challenge Park Daeshik's wife, and face strategic dismantling rather than simple violence. 6 months into the marriage, Naomi and Daeshik stood on their penthouse balcony, watching Seoul's lights, reflecting on transformation. "I never imagined this when I walked into that wedding," Naomi said quietly. "Any of this. Neither did I. I thought I was making a strategic move. Instead, I found a partner who makes me better." Daeshik pulled her close, his arms around her waist, her back against his chest. "I love you, Naomi Okafor Park. Every curve, every brilliant thought, every brave moment, all of it. I love you too, my dangerous, strategic, surprisingly romantic Mafia husband." "Romantic? You send me books you think I'll enjoy. You remember my coffee preferences. You defend my honor violently but respect my independence. That's your version of romance, and it works for me." He laughed, genuine and warm. "I'm glad it works." They stood together, the city sprawling beneath them. the life they'd built from rejection and strategy and unexpected love surrounding them. Naomi thought about the woman who'd stood in a wedding dress, rejected and humiliated, thought about the choice she'd made to marry a dangerous stranger instead of accepting defeat. That choice had led here to genuine love, to partnership that honored her strength, to a life that was complicated and dangerous and absolutely right for who she was. And she wouldn't change a single moment, even the painful ones, because they'd led to this, to Daeshik, to love that didn't require her to be smaller or different, to finally being chosen exactly as she was. The rejected bride had become the Mafia queen, but more importantly, she'd become herself fully, unapologetically, powerfully. And that was the real victory. If you've watched this entire story, thank you. Drop a like if you enjoyed Naomi and Daeshik's journey from arrangement to genuine love. Subscribe for more stories about women who refuse to shrink, who find power in unexpected places, who transform rejection into victory. Comment below what you loved most about this story. I read every single one. Until next time, remember, sometimes the best revenge is building something better than what rejected you. See you in the next one.